Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We want to start by welcoming Brittney to DC. We will give opening statements to Mike and Eric before turning it over to questions. So, Mike.
Welcome, everybody. Special welcome to Brittney to be on this call with us. As she knows, she got bombarded by us in free agency. She was a prime target for us, and we had a great meeting with her overseas, and a lot of communication back and forth. And I just think she's going to be a perfect fit for our team, our organization, our culture. I'll let Eric talk a little bit more about the basketball part, but we've had a chance to watch Brittney throughout her career, and have always felt like if we had the opportunity that we would try to get her. We didn't know if we had to wait all the way till free agency. I made a couple of attempts at one point to try to trade for her and got nowhere. So now that she's a free agent, she's a Washington Mystic, and we're excited about it. So I'll let Eric take it from there.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. Yeah, I've known Brittney since you were 18, and I was a ripe old like 22 or 23. So it's just kind of a full circle moment, and we're really excited to have her here as part of our team. I know our players are excited to add her to our roster. I think everybody on this call knows, the quality of player she is, and a lot's been made of her defensive ability and how that will fit with our group. But we think she brings a lot on the offensive end as well. Giving us a real jolt in transition, and being able to play with the group that we have here. We think it's a really good fit. So like Coach T said, we're just really excited to have Brittney on board, and can't wait to get her over here when she's done with her European season.
We will start with questions. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. We'll start with Tyler.
Hi, Brittney. Tyler Byram with NBC Sports Washington. Nice to meet you. My first question is kind of, what were your goals heading into free agency this year, and what were you looking to get in your contract?
I don't think necessarily was about the contract. For me, the biggest thing that I was looking for in free agency is
Excuse me, but somebody needs to mute, please. We're hearing people. Thank you.
I think the biggest thing for me was going into the situation, just wanting to be in a organization where I didn't feel like I would be put in a box, and to be able to be used the right way. Like I told Mike when he came out to Chopin, and even when I talked to Eric on the phone, I feel like in my 6 years in the league, I haven't even scratched the surface of my capabilities that I can bring to the court. So I wanted to be in a place where, again, I could be used correctly, but also have fun with the game and win and compete for championships. So it was really a no-brainer, after sitting down and talking with my agent, and after talking with them, it was one of those things where, I wanted to be closer to home as well. And it's only a 3-hour drive from my mom. The biggest thing was being able to be closer to my grandmother, and Washington was right there. And I'm really blessed and honored to even have the opportunity.
And then one quick follow-up, what is the most enticing thing about the roster and the team to you that the Mystics were able to provide?
Well, I mean, as a former opponent, Washington was always one of those teams where you really had to come to play on both ends of the floor, especially last year with them being number one in defense. But what was most enticing, I think, is just the way they play. It's very free, it's very open. You can get the ball, you can move, and you had to account for everybody. There wasn't, yes, they have, Deladon, but you have to account for everybody else on the court, because everybody had a threat when they had the ball in their hands. And that's something that I look forward to, have weapons all around.
Mark.
Hey, Slim. First of all, major congratulations on the contract. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Going off of this current season that you're playing in EuroLeague, when you look at what, like we talked about what you did at WNBL this past season, of course, and what you focused on. What has been your primary focus playing with Chopin? Obviously, I know you've done a ton as, really find yourself as a scorer and ball handler more. But what do you think you've taken away most from the season heading into the W season?
Well, beginning with Chopin and now with Girona, I'm in the position of being a point guard right now. And I think for me, just sharpening that tool, like that's something that has helped me. And honestly, something that was, a big deal going into free agency, being able to play multiple positions and being at the point guard position now, I'm really just trying to, one, not turn the ball over, and two, just be able to see the game in a different lens. It was kind of hard in the beginning because it was such a scorer's mentality and, just get the ball at the floor in transition. But now I'm starting to think more methodical in when I'm going in transition, who am I trying to attract so I can get the post open or hit the trailer. So watching a lot of film and watching a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, I'm having fun doing it. So for me, it's honestly just learning how to sharpen my point guard eyes.
Definitely. And as a follow-up as well, just going off of my all league votes last year, I mean, that's you guys are now you, Natasha and Ariel, 3 best guard defenders in the league. When you look at what that can be together, the 3 of you playing defense, and obviously, I mean, that's, adding Shakira, Elena's been really good as a rim protector as well. Like what that can be as a unit, what gets you excited about that?
I mean, for one, I have a person to my left and a person to my right that can guard, any position as well. So for me, that's like a 3-headed monster. And we joked about it on live today, me and Natasha, that, I don't have to block her shot anymore just in practice. And I don't have to guard Ariel anymore, So it's a breath of fresh air, honestly, to be around like-minded individuals when it comes to defense, because it's an effort thing. It's not something that, it just comes overnight. It's something that you want to do. And to be around individuals like Tosh and A it's amazing for me, honestly.
Awesome. Thank you. Congrats again.
Thanks, man.
Wayne.
Hey, Brittney, how you doing?
Good.
Just want to clear, we're allowed to call you Slim, right?
Indeed.
Okay, cool. My first question for you is, just now that you joined the Mystics, what's a message that you have for the Mystics fans?
Oh, man. I mean, be ready for more wins, be ready for more exciting basketball, be ready for us to compete for a championship. And I mean, just continue to support us at the same time, just come along for the ride. I don't know what else to say. I'm still trying to wrap my head around, everything that has happened in the last 48 hours. There's been so much love and so many messages that I'm still trying to grasp a hold of everything and just being back on the East Coast.
And another thing, you kind of touched on it, but just with that live with you and Tosh, one of the things about the Mystics is really a family culture. How easy has the transition been knowing you've been embraced by your teammates as well?
Oh, it's been amazing. Honestly, it makes me feel really warm inside. A big thing, again, that I talked with Mike about is, feeling that type of want and that appreciation from your peers and from the organization. And I felt nothing but love from them from day one of free agency. So, to have that welcomeness from A and from Maisha and Tosh and Deladon, like everybody reached out, thanked me. Once free agency started, everybody texted me like, "Hey, we want you here. Whatever you need to know, whatever you want to find out or figure out, like we are here for you." But I think the biggest thing that made me feel so comfortable with coming to the Mystics is that no matter what my decision was going to be, they allowed me to, feel the process. And I think that's huge, especially with this being my first free agency, where I just was able to be human and go through the process and know that, okay, there are other teams that I was talking to, that there was no, like backsidedness of the situation. It was very genuine, very authentic, and just letting me fill out the process.
Any other questions? Tyler?
Are we good to ask questions to Eric and Mike about free agency as a whole, or are we good just keeping it with Brittney?
You can ask questions. I have no problem. I may not answer them, but you can ask them.
Well, I'll at least ask Mike, with what New York and Vegas has done this free agency and the talent that they're really accumulating to make a big push, has that altered any of your free agency plans that you were making this year? Obviously, you got a big signing here with Brittney, but did that change your perspective on how you're going to approach maybe this next week or so?
No, because particularly in our case, we only had so much cap room. We had more key players signed than a lot of those teams did going into free agency. Obviously, Vegas had, a core group that was already signed. New York has been trying to, make adjustments. I really can't get into a situation where, we can keep worrying about what somebody else does. The games aren't played on paper. They're played on the court when the season starts. There's going to be a lot of hype around what's transpired, but I don't know that it's, particularly in New York's case, we'll see what all is done going into it. But, as Brittney said, we're a really good defensive team. They got to play us too. And, we'll be fine with, everybody talking about everybody else. We're just going to go about our business. We didn't have a lot of room to go out and, do a lot of other things. We like the players we have. Brittney came here partly because she's going to play with a whole bunch of really good players. And we like who we are. We know we have to get better in some areas day to day, but that's part of, practicing together and doing things as a team. And so, kudos to those other teams for making some big splashy moves, but, the season is, 3 months off, and we'll see what happens. I'll let Eric answer, part of that if you got anything to say.
Yeah, I'm fine with us competing for a championship against those teams.
And then it just kind of leads
Is my
into
answer.
you lead kind of right into my next question. What does especially signing Brittney add to this team that you necessarily didn't have last year? I know you touched on a little bit in your opening statement with what she's able to do and push the pace and be able to get your flow from defense to offense, but what does this team now have that it didn't have a year ago?
Well, I think first of all, we have a prime of her career guard who's, like she said, just still experimenting with parts of her game. There's things that she feels she can do better and get better at a, critical part in her career, but a critical time for us. We haven't had a guard necessarily on our team that has been able to do some of the things she does. She is one of the best in our league at getting to the basket in traffic and finishing at the rim, and if defenses collapse and help, that she can find teammates on the perimeter or behind the defense. That's a unique skill that, players that can go get their own shot off the dribble are really, really valuable players. The fact that she can get out in transition with her speed, when you think about, her and Ariel and Tosh and Shatori, and what can happen with our roster in another month or two, looks like that we can pick up the pace. Where one of our offseason goals was to be a better transition team, and that's something she does, and still comes in as one of the most elite defensive guards in our league and guard all three positions. And we can mix and match every day. And I say we, and Eric can mix and match every day once the season starts, but we have a lot of flexibility in what we do at both ends of the court.
That's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Mark?
Yeah, so just going off of that, Eric, when the signing is coming together, and obviously things can still happen in free agency, but are you pulling up synergy and starting to think through oh, these are things we can maybe start running, or maybe this is some kind of action we can add, or how are you approaching this as soon as you know this is happening, and thinking what you can do this next year?
Yeah, I think we probably started thinking about it as the season was ending last year, and you started thinking about ways you want to get better. And with Brittney, we felt that she does things that fill multiple roles. So as she mentioned, she's playing more point guard. We knew one thing we wanted to do is be able to take some pressure off of Tosh of having to be the primary ball handler all the time. And the fact that the two of them can play together as well really gives us an additional ball handler in transition and in the half court. And, Coach mentioned it, you guys mentioned it, the transition piece. I think we were either dead last or near the bottom in transition, and we knew we needed a jolt in the open floor. And it's been an emphasis with our players that are here right now. But we think that's going to allow us to score easier early. So yeah, we're starting to look at some things, how it might fit all together, but you do need to get everybody on the floor, build that chemistry, and just, get a little bit of a shorthand with each other of how you're going to play together.
Awesome. And then Slim, for you as well. I know we talked about last year, how you approach film. Like, I know you're really avid with keeping up with everything and seeing how the game is going. But like, when you look at what your partnership could be with Elena, because like obviously NECA and you had incredible synergy the last couple of years, but Elena brings an entirely different threat in what she can do in DHOs and as a pick and pop threat. Have you already like maybe connected with her or started to kind of think through some of that as well?
Not on that level. I mean, we've talked, we have like a little insider between each other about coming to the team now, but as far as creating synergy, that's in the works. But I mean, again, playing against her and not being able to play with her, that's a totally different big. And, it's hard as ever to guard somebody of her caliber. And now you put me and her in a pick and roll situation, the possibilities are limitless,
Right, yeah.
I just look forward to being able to, figure out how we can just crack the code of becoming a really good pick and roll partnership, honestly.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne?
First for Coach Eric, just from a personal standpoint, we know Slim on that defensive end for the Sparks was wreaking havoc, averaging 2 steals a game. Tasha always talked about having dogs. When you have a player like that, how does that just make you feel as a coach knowing you have just another one to deploy on that court?
I mean, it's a luxury for sure. I think they're all a little hurt, Slim, Tosh, and Ariel, and I'll say put Shatori in that group also, are all a little bit different, which I think helps. I know when we used to play LA, you'd have to have a lot of discussions and shoot around and stuff about making sure you got 2 outlets and somebody else to bring the ball up the floor. And I know it happened once late in the game out there where we're trying to tell somebody at the free throw, no, like, you go get the outlet, and then she just went and changed her matchup and picked them up anyway. So that's a nice thing to have. We'll figure out, like, from night to night what matchups make sense, but I know we can be disruptive. It's nice to have 3 players in that's the main defensive group there that can play on the ball and off the ball. I think we can be aggressive on the ball, knowing that we've got some quickness and some athleticism and length to really be disruptive in passing lane. So, we were the #1 defense last year, and our goal is to get better.
And Coach Mike, for you, or GM Mike, I should say, what we know defense wins championships, and as you're constructing this roster, what is the identity you want to have going into the season?
Well, I think we said it, at the end of the season, we would like to, as Eric just said, improve upon an already really good defense. We'd like to even get better, but we wanted to find some better balance offensively. There were 2 ways to go about it. One was to improve our 3-point shooting. Slim's not gonna win the world record for 3-point shooting yet, but I think that she's going to have more opportunity to be a 3-point shooter in our system. But she also just brings what I talked about before, a dimension that we haven't had. So now that, you've got all these people around her, she can penetrate, she can get to the rim without seeing 3 defenders in front of her, because she's going to have teammates that have to be defended on the perimeter. She's going to have gaps in transition that she can attack off of. And because she's become such a good passer, she'll make the right decision about whether to continue the attack, whether to pull up, whether to dish. Every time you can add a guard like that to your team, then, you've done something really good.
And then we have one question from a media member who couldn't join for Slim. And the question is, what do you feel the biggest challenge will be joining a new team?
Joining a new team. I mean, It's crazy because I actually thought about it when I was going through free agency and looking at teams, looking at rosters. What I thought was a challenge is actually something that is not even a challenge at all, but just trying to figure out, Washington already had a core, and who they had on their team. And then me thinking, okay, well, I'm coming into something. But after sitting down and talking with, Mike and talking to Eric, it quickly went away in my mind that I was trying to join into something. It was more of like pieces to a puzzle, more than it is a challenge, and just coming in and understanding what they're looking for me to do and looking for, how I can join in on what they already have built. So for me, it was just one of those things where having the confidence to know that, I'm not trying to fit in or stay in the league. It was more so just coming and doing what I already done the past 6 years, and them wanting me to be there. And that's kind of how I took my mindset on it and joining the Mystics.
Great. And on that note, if there is no other questions, that concludes today's media availability. Once again, welcome to DC. Eric, Mike, thank you for your time, and we will hopefully see all of you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Brittney.